Hello and welcome to another video with J&D Photography, and today I'm gonna touch upon this really interesting subject as portrait photography. As I explained earlier on, portrait photography is really important for me. This is where I'm mainly focusing my business plans. I like how that sounds, my business plans. But that's where I'm going with my photography. That's what I want to achieve. I want to be at a stage in my life where I can do portrait photography for a living, and that's all I do. No commercial, no events, nothing that would be, let's say, a little bit hectic at times, and just a beautiful portrait photography. That's my plan. Never mind, I will dream some other time, but now I'll try to explain you what is the three things or three stages that I'm going through as I'm doing portraits. At the same time, maybe you can pick this up and use it in your own photography. Doesn't matter if it's friends or not friends or family members, but these are the 3 points that maybe you should try focusing on and implementing in your photography, especially when it comes to portraits. So number one thing, conversation, as simple as it sounds, it's a little bit more complicated than that. You need to have a conversation with the person, because the person is going to be cold in front of you. You're not going to bring out the emotions, but everything starts with a conversation and exchanging an experiences, exchanging an opinions on things, and you don't always really have to agree with something, but you have to communicate with the person. Without communicating, you can't take a great portrait. You see people doing that with the street photography, you know, just running around the streets with camera and just snapping away. This is completely different area of photography, I think. I know someone will make an argument that street photography is portrait, but I don't believe that a person running to his work with a mobile phone in his hand, attached to his ear, thinking about his wages, thinking about his family, thinking about all the other things, is going to be the best subject for a good portrait photography. So there you go, street photographers. That's not portraits, that's street photography. And yeah, so having a conversation, having this communication with a person in front of you, in front of camera, is really crucial. It's really important. This person needs to be communicating with you, and this is not a conversation about weather. This is exchanging experiences and opinions about the situation in life, or just knowing each other. You need to know the person that is in front of you, even though you have like 5 minutes to meet this person and take a snap of him. There is possibility in this 5 minutes to understand as much as possible about the person in front of you. And that's just really basic of it, but that's how it starts, right? So the second stage will be, can I come up with a smart name here as well? Let's say splitting the apple. How is that? That is good. And I will explain you why I said that, because that sounds just not really portrait related. So let's use an example of you taking a picture of an apple, right? So you put it on your table, there's a nice setting to it, you lit it up with the light and it looks beautiful, and you take a picture of it. It's great, right? But it doesn't tell the full story, right? So if you take a knife and you split it in half, then you can see the very healthy, very juicy and kind of fresh surface of the inside of the apple, and the whole image becomes completely different. It tells you the story of that apple. It almost gives you the flavor of the subject in front of camera. So that's what you need to do with a human. And don't get me wrong, you don't need to split a human in half. That's just not going to end well. But you need to do throughout the conversation, which was the first stage, you need to find these little things that kind of lights up this person, that is important, that this person becomes emotionally attached to. So you can have a conversation with someone about his kids, and maybe for that person at that moment, his family and his kids, and it's so important for him that you can just see it in his face, and you can see it in this person's eyes, that it kind of lights him up, and you can see that straight away this person is emotionally attached to this conversation. So this is the best moment to take a picture, right? Having that little magical moment, that little split second of light inside someone's eyes, is, as cheesy as it sounds, it's super important, and not always you're going to be able to achieve that. Sometimes it's just not working. Some days you just can't do that. And yeah, that's one tip. And you know, really with portrait photography, this is really important. And I'll talk about this a little bit more, because you have to understand, if you're doing let's say wildlife photography or landscape photography or commercial photography, and I'm not here to say that one is better or one is harder than other or whatever. It's up to your taste, and it doesn't really matter. It's a subjective opinion. But when it comes to technicalities about it, let's say landscape photography, right? I'm standing in the top of the mountain, and there's another 3 mountains in front of me, and I take a picture of them, and yes, after a year I can come back and do the same. Yes, the setting is going to be changed. Maybe the grass is going to be bigger, and maybe there's going to be a couple of trees, and there's going to be a couple of clouds, but it's going to be just the setting that changes. The subject is still the same. Well, you can't have that with the photography. There is a very, very small margin of time where you can press the shutter and the photo will make a sense. So you have to understand that, and that's really important. So sometimes it's even better to look through the camera instead of looking through the camera. It's actually better to be holding your hand on the shutter and having a conversation with the person and waiting for that moment and then pressing the shutter. That's how we don't have such a great portrait photographers like we did back in the day with, for an example, Richard Avedon, which did exactly that. Most of the time he was having actually conversation with the person and just knowing the right moment when to press the shutter. This is a good tip. This is something you could use in your photography, and it will massively improve the storytelling capabilities of that image. Now we're coming to the last stage, which again is maybe not as important as important for you as a portrait photographer. Generally, portrait photography doesn't care about that, but you as a person, as a business, you need to do this right. Or even as an individual, if you're doing portraits for your family, this is something you need to keep in your mind. When you split this apple, and I'm going back to the apple, there's all kinds of colors and flavors coming out, right? So when the person in front of you is loose and is feeling comfortable, and you can read the emotions and all that, you have to choose, because you can't, it's going to be really hard, nearly impossible to capture all of these emotions in one image, right? So you have to pinpoint that split second and that beauty and in that moment which you want to reflect on this person, right? For example, you see Sophie, I believe, yes, Sophie was her name, and I think I got it wrong before. I took her portrait in Lossiemund Beach. It was near the harbor. We were just walking around. Her mother was there, just having a chat. We put her in the front of just a metal gate, kind of roller door gate type of thing, and she was standing there. The wind was in her hair, and you can see that sparkle in her eye, and she was happy. She was enjoying the moment. And at the same time, even though, you know, it's just her head is slightly tilted, but there is so much energy in that person in that very moment that is trying to break loose, right? And that's her age. That would really perfectly reflect her. You know, she's trying to understand the world, trying to understand how the things around her works. And at that moment, there's a lot of energy in her, and she's ready to learn all the wonders and the magic of the world. I know how cheesy it sounds, but that's just how it is. You need to pinpoint and find the right emotions to reflect, and they need to fit with the personality. If that doesn't happen, then it's still a portrait, and you still have done your job, but it doesn't really, it's not complete. You know what I mean? I'm trying to explain that. Sometimes I'm going in circles and mumbling, but hopefully some of this did get across to you, and hopefully some of these things that I said you can use in your photography. Thanks for watching. You're probably going to see, as I said, videos like this from me in the future, and I'll see you next time.